turn our sights now to Zambia. Some really encouraging news coming out of Zambia as far as its economy is concerned. There have been increased investments in the mining, energy, as well as agriculture sectors. The reports say that the government's fiscal consolidation have gained traction. This is after emerging from a sovereign default. The overall belief from government is that this will bring the very much needed stability to the Zambian economy, not just for the mining sector, but also for agriculture. For a perspective on this and also how the country should interpret this boom, we're joined this evening by Calvin Chisanga, a Zambian-based economist. Good to have you with us, Calvin. Welcome to Africa in Business. Your take on this increased investment in these sectors. What is behind this? Welcome.
Thank you so much. My pleasure being with you. Yes, it's an interesting story that Zambia is turning out to be, especially at a point when we have investors' confidence, which is actually also giving that substantial effect. At the moment right now, we've got an investor's appetite which is quite high, especially at a point when we have made consistency in the policy framework within the sector. So the case of Zambia's mining sector is currently benefiting from a combination of global demand shift, obviously also with an aspect, as I mentioned, of policy recalibration, as well as improved macroeconomic stability, which is basically increasing that investors' confidence in copper and any other mineral assets. So above everything, it's the macroeconomic environment which is actually being able to motivate, as well as also the aspect to do with the policy framework, which has remained consistent for some time without any shadow boxing.
Right. And local investors, are they showing interest as well, or where are most of the investors coming from?
Well, it's a combination of the two. Obviously, we've got an increasing interest by both local as well as international, players in the market. Obviously, because of the aspect to do with the value addition which you need to drive, and much more with the aspect of the green technology which is taking place. Obviously, we want to make proper retention of our mineral resource. So this is strongly an indicator that is actually basically, coming even with the indigenous Zambians who are basically in the industry to just basically, create that attractive interest.
Right. For someone who doesn't really know much about how the Zambian mining sector works, could you tell us more about it as well as some of the main, commodities that are coming out of Zambia? We know that copper has always been the country's economic backbone. Is there also a sense of diversification as well into other minerals?
Yes, so we understand pretty very well that Zambia is heavily anchored on copper production. And of course, it has got many other, as you have mentioned, we've got cobalt, we've got emeralds, we've got manganese, we've got nickel, and many other, which also include gold mining aspect as well. Much of what we have also done, we've got a section of also industrial minerals, which are basically being used in cement production, construction, and other manufacturing processes. So it's a complementary kind of a situation where we've got lime, we've got gray, we've got a lot of other minerals that also are being discovered. And at the point where we are right now, the Zambian government has embarked on assessing the mineral asset across the country, meaning we are using the geo-mapping aerial system, which is high resolution, to just ascertain the mineral asset that this country has. So it will be important even to package that so that we can be able to face the market with the clarity in terms of what we have in regions that are basically, So overall, I think copper has become one of the main leading on the cap, and of course we've got diversification into other minerals that are also complementing to the energy or electrical vehicles as well, such as manganese and many others, which also include gold, which is basically being used with the Bank of Zambia as a store of value, and many other mineral assets.
So there's the copper, there's the cobalt, manganese, rare earths as well, which are all very,
Yes.
quite popular with investors. But I wonder, Calvin, can Zambia realistically become a regional hub for mineral processing as well as for battery manufacturing instead of exporting raw materials? We are now once again seeing a resurgence of beneficiation as far as minerals are concerned on the African continent. Is Zambia also following suit?
Yes, that is the talk and the policy direction which is, being taken with a number of government officials. Because at the moment where we are, the mining investments decision now are quite inclined to validation or vertical integration, so that we can actually make a substantial economic return. Because what we have done so far for a longest period of time, we've been exporting low commodities. So it's at a time when we are even now driving the growth at higher scale in terms of trying to change the mining landscape and its structure of operation. So we are inclined now to some horizontal mining schemes of trying to make sure that we basically work out some semi-produced product that can actually be able to be exported out there, because we want to participate into the green technology which is taking place, or energy transition process, which is also something that is gaining momentum from that basis.
And I'm happy you touched on energy because that's exactly where I'd like us to go now. We do know that obviously reliable energy is essential for industrial growth. How is Zambia balancing the increased mining demand that we've been discussing now with the need for energy security?
Okay, so at a core, where we are facing with an aspect of climate change risk effect, we are also trying to work with the energy diversification process. Obviously, we understand that Zambia has been dependent so much on the hydro generation power. We have now come into an aspect of having energy mixed. I'm sure you may be able to recall that just a few weeks ago we are talking about the 15-year energy diversification strategy, which is actually a resilient model where the debt swap has actually worked out from that basis. Zambia is buying back the bonds, and part of the savings is going to be channeled into energy processing, ensuring that we have more energy stability or sense of security. And again, in terms of just the demanding factor, we understand that we are at a point where we've got a combination of global demand fundamentals. Zambia has put in place a policy directive of going toward an output of about 3 million in terms of copper production and many others. So it's something that has actually been able to be put in right in place. So we are basically shaping Zambia's risky return profile on energy, and also making sure that energy becomes a key factor that should be able to drive industrial processes as well.
And how attractive, Calvin, is Zambia's independent power producer market for private investors?
Okay, so the sector is being liberated. We have an energy policy of 2019, which has been tabled. We are trying to recalculate a number of key elements to make sure that it's open access, and also it's something that can be viable, so that any investor who wants to participate into the sector should be able to actually be able to work out things from there. So at the point where we are looking at capital expenditure to have some tax relief of some sort within the sector, and also ensuring that Zambia becomes an energy attractive point, especially at a point when we are also linking to regional energy sources as well. So we are actively involved into energy expansion, seeing that there is a project also that is taking place with the Tanzania, where we want to do some high profile connection of some sort, which is under the World Bank. So we are trying to liberate this market with the energy even from outside. So it's something that's very important at the point, and at the point when we are also facing energy crisis, there is also a liberation that is taking place in the market, where even independent mining outfit or companies are able to import energy on their own, and there is also some sort of liberation in terms of tax structure around it as well.
I'd like us to look at the third sector that also seems to be enjoying investor confidence in Zambia, and that is agriculture, which is and remains one of Zambia's biggest employers. What are the opportunities that exist for agribusiness investors across the value chain?
Okay, so at the moment, Zambia has not been uplifting the value proposition aspect of business. So the agribusiness channels is not something that is working to the fullest capacity, because most of the times we have a very sound harvest production like the way we have it in this particular season, where we are speaking of almost nearly 5 million metric tons of maize output. Obviously, that also speaks of energy security, food security at that level. And of course, we are also trying to see if we can push forth the surplus into the regional market. By the way, the Zambian market, in terms of maize, it's something that is very positive, just like the way we stand toe to toe with South Africa in terms of flooding in the regional market, particularly DRC market. And if anything, maybe I should be able to say that Zambia and South Africa set the tone in terms of maize prices in the region, and that's what we have actually been able to be actively participate. But the only challenge is that we basically offload low maize. We are not basically doing the processing so that we can actually be able to make value retention and beneficiation from there. So I think in terms of just the landscape of what we are trying to do on agriculture, there is too much potential that need to be explored and do a bit of high-scale production, because what we are doing right now, we've got a land mass of about 42 million hectares, which is underutilized. Only just about 25% of that piece of land which is being utilized from that basis. So Zambia can actually be able to utilize this, but again, the potential power in terms of what we need to do, we need to have grain banks, we need to have validation, we need to have certification of some sort so that we can participate fully even on the animals or livestock side of farming. And much to this also, there is a need for us to have capacity building in terms of capital formation, because at the moment where we are, it's quite poor. So
Yeah.
all these are elements of opportunity that we can actually be able to explore from there.
And as we wrap up this evening, Calvin, you did mention a little bit earlier on some of the factors behind this renewed investor confidence. But what are we seeing here? Is Zambia experiencing a cyclical recovery, or is this a structural transformation of the economy?
Well, it's receiving structural transformation. Obviously, we understand that a number of good things are put in place, much more at a point even when we are in the election campaign period. We have entered this with a unique improved economic stability, which has never happened in the electoral cycle that we have in the past. And again, what we have seen that it's strongly supported by low inflation. Obviously, the key macroeconomic stabilization are also pointing with a positive development, with a stronger reserves as well as relatively stable local currency, which have also given that beneficiation as well. So we've actually been able to see some substantial gains that have really given that buffer, where we are even seeing that there are a few risk factors apart from the election risk itself.
All right, Calvin Chisanga, thank you so much for taking us through that economic boost and investment boost that Zambia is receiving in some of its sectors, as well as highlighting the opportunities that exist, specifically in the area of agriculture, where the value chain can really be maximized. And the big question is, can agriculture in Zambia become a major area for foreign currency and a major foreign currency earner for the country, perhaps in the same way that mining has become? He takes us to exactly 6:53.
Conversations are happening, and Channel Africa is at the heart of them. We tell the African story with clarity, pride, and purpose, reaching audiences that matter to your brand. Partner with us and connect your business